Here's a fun little brain teaser for you. What's the output of this code? Go ahead, pause the video. I'll wait. Maybe you thought it was this. Maybe you thought it was this. The fact of the matter is, you don't have enough context to make an informed decision. What we really need is a way to determine if our language is choosing to pass this map by reference or by value. And the way that we do that is with something called a pointer. Pointers allow us to choose to pass data by reference, which means that if we were to mutate that data, we would be mutating it outside of the scope that it's passed into. Alternatively, we could pass by value, which means that the value would be copied into the new scope, and then any changes made to that value in the new scope would not be reflected in the original scope. Pointers kind of get a bad rap. A lot of people tend to think that they make programming more complicated. I would argue that they make programming easier. There's two real reasons why. The first one is on the performance side of things, being able to control whether you pass something by value or reference can be really critical. If you have a very large object in memory and you need to pass it around, perhaps it would be easier to pass the reference to that object. It would definitely be lighter. Conversely, if you're trying to pass data across multiple threads or channels, you would want to pass by value, most likely, to avoid deadlocking yourself or having multiple threads trying to access the same data at the same time, which is a bad idea. Let's modify our pseudocode from our first example to make it very clear whether we're passing by reference or value. On the second line here, we can use an asterisk, which is generally in most languages how you would indicate that this is a pointer, and we are getting a pointer to the value x. Now, if we were to modify anything on x, that will be reflected in the calling scope as well. Having control of pointers is very powerful, but honestly, I think where they shine the most for me is when debugging. Being able to clearly see whether something is passed by reference or by value is phenomenally helpful when debugging complex issues, especially around mutable state, or state that you don't think is mutating, but it turns out it is. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't know of a language that doesn't allow you to pass by reference and pass by value, but with a lot of languages, it's implied. So if you have an object of an unbeknownst size, such as a map or an array or a list, whatever the object is in the language you're choosing to work with, a lot of times those are passed by reference because they have to exist on the heap. And copying them into memory every time you were to execute something in that scope is just not reasonable. However, it's implied, so you have to know exactly how each language handles pass by reference and pass by value, and then also the types that fit into each of those. Having it explicitly called out in code is just way easier. I decided to try something new with this video, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on it compared to some of my other content. If you found the video helpful, I would always appreciate a subscribe, and you'll get the opportunity to learn more about a vast array of different programming topics.